Alright, so here's a little update on the Tamiya Miami Vice Ferrari testarossa build. The body had a little trouble lining up with the chassis, as I think the chassis may have been a little warped, and instead of taking the upward curve to meet the body, just went flat out and hung down lower than the actual air dam on the body. Had a similar issue with the rear deck lid, where it wouldn't line up with the rear of the body here, and it would actually hang up, I want to say, like a couple of millimeters above the body, which really did not look good when the car was sitting there looking as if the deck lid was open. So what I did was I taped it down, let it sit for the day, in that hoping that it would conform to the new shape, because it's actually touching. The problem is it's actually touching the engine intake here, and that's pushing the deck lid up. So I had a mesh grill, which I fabricated and installed here to give it a little more of a realistic appearance, and I had to take it out because since it's physically, the deck lid is physically touching the engine, there's no room to leave the mesh grill in there. So I had to take it out, and now we just have it open to the engine bay. And it was still touching. So what I did was I taped it down to hold it in place, let it sit, and then in the evening I applied a little bit of heat using a hairdryer just to soften the plastic enough to have it conform even more to its new shape, so that when I remove the tape, hopefully it'll sit flush with the rest of the body lines. Same thing had to be done in the front. I would heat the chassis as it's being in the position it's being held with the tape, and that would cause it to soften up. Then I'd let it cool in that position, and that will hopefully keep it totally flush with the lower part of the body. This kit has been excellent overall, and other than these minor annoyances, it's been a pretty trouble-free build. I mean, it's not an easy kit. There's a lot of fiddly parts. It's very fragile, as there are very many small parts which go together on this thing. So you have to be very delicate with it. Unlike the monogram, which appears to be made of a sturdier, heavier plastic, also had a similar problem with the front end, but not with the deck lid, as the deck lid actually snaps into place and just stays there. It's a perfect fit for the deck lid, even to the point where it has no gap on the roof, whereas at Tamiya, because of the hinge assembly it's got, does have a small gap, but the gap is even, so it looks like it's supposed to be there. And here, the monogram, except for the tires that keep falling off it. I'm going to have to modify something there. You can see it sits much easier. The chassis meets the body. So the body actually goes together better than it does on a Tamiya. But in my opinion, I think the Tamiya still is a better looking representation of the car. Until I'm totally finished with the monogram, I won't be able to say 100% which one will look better, but as of right now, I'm going with the Tamiya. As long as these body panels fit perfectly, I have to do a little bit of a touch-up on the paint there. Then the Tamiya body will be ready to be completed. So that's the only problem I'm having with the car right now. So the end of the build is coming soon. Stay tuned.